We want to welcome everyone to tonight's webinar. The first thing we're going to do is introduce ourselves. Just give your name and where you live, and mention your child and when they went to heaven. We're Gary and Laura House, and our son Nathan passed away 10 years ago in 2016 at the age of 25 by suicide. We live in Lynchburg, Virginia. Anyone else go whenever you feel up to it.
My name is Carol Brown, and I live in Arlington, Texas. We lost our 22-year-old daughter in a car accident in 1996.
I'm Misty West. I live in Grapevine, Texas, and I lost my son Jonathan January 2023 to suicide.
We are oops. I guess the volume is eating back here.
Is there another wind?
Okay, well, anyway, we are Ernie and Karen Richards, and our son Levi took his own life 10 years ago. I'll tell you the truth, I still struggle with the word suicide. And we live in Lynchburg as well, along with Gary and Laura.
I'm Deb Rhodes. I live in Indiana, in Logansport, Indiana, and both of our children are in heaven. Our daughter Natalie, 15 years ago, just last week, and our son David, January of 21.
I'm Billy Melton.
I'm Julie Melton. We're from Greensboro, North Carolina, and our beloved Juliana went to heaven at the age of 27. She was married on Valentine's Day 2018 after a brain tumor diagnosis and surgery and 16 months of treatment. She went to be with Jesus. Feel like she really showed us how to live well and finish well.
My name's Jim Beardsley. I live down the road from the Meltons in Greensboro, North Carolina. My oldest daughter, Caitlin, died by suicide a little over 6 years ago.
I'm Janet Box. I'm from Bentonville, Arkansas. We lost our first child, our only son, Cole. He was stillborn as a result of a cord death, and that was 1992, so 34 years ago. And then 12 and a half years ago, we lost our oldest daughter, Bethany, who was 20, and our youngest daughter, Caitlin, Katie, she was 16 in a car collision.
Well, we are really excited to have all of you here. Thank you for being here. And we're excited for the parents that are watching tonight and who will watch in the future as well. And from the title of our webinar tonight, Forever in Our Hearts, Meaningful Ways to Remember Our Children, we're going to be talking about many, many ways that we do remember our kids. And hopefully you'll go away with some new ideas, some things that you might want to do in your own home or ways to remember your kids. But we also want to start tonight with another question, and that is that many parents have fear that people are going to remember or forget their kids, not remember their children. And I know I remember thinking about that. And also, many of us also think about the fact that we might forget important things about our kids. So before we jump into some of the practical ways to remember, let's talk about that a little bit. So for the panel here, what is your experience with that?
I know that I have feared forgetting. I know I will never forget Jonathan. He's precious. But details about his life, I'm afraid that I will forget. But I think that's why others sharing stories, even memories, even if I know the story, sharing them again is so special.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes people are afraid to bring them up to us because they think it's going to make us sad. And that lack of conversation can make us feel like, oh, they're forgetting them. They aren't remembering them. But I think it's just that people don't know what to say. So it's easier for them not to say anything. And that makes us feel like, oh, maybe they're forgetting them, but they aren't. They're just uncomfortable.
I, been on this road for a long time, and what I find is that people do forget, and it's just a hard thing that you grieve, just like all the other things you grieve after losing your child. The longer it's been since they've been gone, the less relevant your kids typically are to current events. And so it's just a hard fact of life.
Anybody else?
I think one of the ways I remember is by telling the new people who have come into our family over the past 30 years. I talk about Jackie. I want them to know her through me. So I share my memories, my 22 years worth of memories with them. And, well, it's not the same as if she was still here, but at least they can get a little idea of who she was. And so I spend quite a bit of time talking to my grandchildren, especially about her.
I think one thing I experienced, especially right after Caitlin died, is you have all this stuff and you're just afraid, is it significant or not? I mean, here's some chewing gum that she had or whatever. You some little, gosh, can we watch the dirty socks? I mean, you're just this thing. I don't want to lose anything. You're almost you're kind of tied by that. And I must admit, there's some stuff we just put in a go put. So we're gonna go. But for a lot of things, as time progresses, you start learning. Oh, that is significant. That is not. So don't worry if you're freaked out the first year or first months or so. I think just give yourself time, and eventually you'll figure out what's significant to cherish and what's just something you don't really need.
Yes. For me, I realized that forgetting him was not a problem. I was having or expecting it's just too many memories. And I made a decision a while back, and it might have been a couple of years actually, where I felt I had to step back from it some and not going that way, not going down that path, So I made a conscious decision, and I stopped reading books about grieving and loss for a while, and then after so long, I just decided I didn't want to continue to be so sad all the time, Then after a while, though, it struck me the memories of Levi are becoming a bit fuzzier, and I'm not thinking of him so much. And I decided that's not a good thing either. I don't know if you can speak of a happy medium when it comes to the loss of a child, but now I am taking time to remember, and I realized just a week ago, I was thinking about Levi and just sitting there. I took a break out from whatever else I was doing and thought, I had a son named Levi, and he was just really extraordinary. And I just really loved him. And, for the first time in 10 years, I found that actually kind of delightful. Before, to be very honest, I couldn't bring back a memory of Levi without this tremendous weight and sadness. So, people comment on Facebook, well, I post something about Levi on Facebook, and people would comment, you have such precious memories. They're trying to look at the positive side. Such wonderful memories. I post a picture, and I thought, well, unfortunately, I wish they were that wonderful, but it's always heavily tinged with this sadness. I can't really enjoy them. So it's just about a week ago, for the first time, I thought about Levi. I delighted in the fact that I had a son named Levi, and we had a good, strong relationship and many, many wonderful memories. And I noticed that I was enjoying that. So I don't know if there's a point to what I was sharing, but
I think you make a good point, because I know there's plenty of times, and for me, it was looking at pictures, um, seeing if I chose to open Facebook and I chose to look at pictures, that was precious. But if all of a sudden one of his pictures popped up, it was like a knife to my heart. And it's not like that so much now. And but I think some of that too also, I don't know. I started to say time, and time is not true because there's waves. Time is not true. But it was just letting myself, I guess, get used to seeing those pictures come up again. And there, sometimes it is that joyful moment and then the tears, but maybe not the overwhelming, drowning tears that it was in that first year or two.
Well, let's talk a little bit about ways that we do honor and remember our children, and also maybe some ways that others can give the gift of remembrance to us. Let's start with the first and share specific ideas. Anyone?
So what do you do on birthdays?
I was so tickled on Jonathan's first birthday. The first birthday he was gone, that was very, very hard. I was so touched because one of his cousins made sugar cookies in themes that reflected him, and then sent a small box to all the cousins in the family. And then they sent, because we don't live near each other, everybody's in different states. And then they sent me pictures of them with the Jonathan cookies that they had received.
Aww.
And that was precious to me because everybody was part of his birthday that year.
It's neat.
We also are spread out in different states. That's great.
Love that.
Wow. Very talented.
Love that.
But our girls, we have 2 girls and 2 boys, minus Levi. And our girls, they're very intentional on Levi's birthday and Heaven Day, as are we. And we all will make cookies that he loved or meals that he loved. We're all doing our own thing. And as a family, we have a family thread, text thread. And, you know, we're all sending pictures. Like maybe we have our Levi mug of coffee, his mug, or our Levi t-shirt on, and we just send pictures throughout the day. And we get together with our local kids for a meal that Levi loved. And I pull out the memory boards that we had for his memorial service. There's probably about 8. And we have grandchildren who didn't know him. And of course, as they age each year, it's kind of new in that they're older and ask more questions, and we share more stories. And I love that. That's probably the highlight to me. It's looking at the pictures with the grandkids and talking about him. But I am pleased to hear what our grandkids here and in Arizona know about him, because their mothers are talking about him. And that is super special. For our son's birthday, I always go to the local place that makes birthday cakes and anonymously pay for a birthday cake or 2 or however many for the same day as his birthday. And a couple of years ago, I had a really neat experience. The young man that was manning the bakery area said he had a birthday the same day, and there wasn't anybody that hadn't already prepaid. And he said that his mom had passed, and so he didn't celebrate his birthdays much. And so we talked for a while, and so we decided that we would buy him a birthday cake.
Oh, that's
so he chose what he wanted for his birthday cake. And of course, I went and paid for it and went back in tears and said, my son's not here for me to buy a birthday cake for, and your mom's not here to buy you a birthday cake. So look what God did in putting us together. So that was really cool. For our daughter's birthday, when she was first diagnosed with cancer, she was 21, but it was a pediatric cancer. So she was in a children's hospital. So each year they have a Ronald McDonald House on that campus, but within the hospital, there's a Ronald McDonald House room, which is a respite room for families. So we call down there and say, hey, what are your needs? What do you need right now? And so we take supplies down to them and then go to this fancy place for lunch that she would absolutely love. Many times friends of hers go with us or family members. And then sometimes on their birthday or heaven day, I might post something on Facebook and invite people to share memory. And so that is great to me to hear those memories, but it's another way for people to say, hey, I remember this about them. So that's good. Yeah.
I want to acknowledge a couple people in the chat box. Rita's saying that they make a birthday lunch that Jesse always loved. And then she also says they make a donation to Trail Life USA in his memory. That's neat as well. Anybody else?
On Valentine's Day, Juliana's passing, we always celebrate at one of her favorite restaurants, and we'll also have like a special dessert. But, one of the things I was thinking about too is that, people encourage people that there's no really right or wrong way to honor and remember your child. And and everybody's timetable is different when they're ready to remember and honor them. So in some people, it may be really painful for them, but for us, it was a way to really continue Juliana's legacy and celebrate her. And after a few years after her passing, we established a scholarship to not only to remember her, but to impact other people. And that has been huge. At her alma mater, where she received her graduate degree in government, she went into public service, and the scholarship is for individuals in need going into public service. And so we have seen how impactful that's been to really touch lives. She loved internationals, and she really cared about, the vulnerable and people that really in need. And we've gotten letters back, and that's just been so meaningful to us to see her, legacy continue that way. And she loved the holidays. I mean, Christmas was her favorite holiday. So we have a Christmas coffee as a family every year. And recently we've expanded and started inviting people outside of the family and made it like a silent auction. And so all the proceeds go towards the scholarship at Regent University, where she, got her master's in government. So it's been really cool to meet people. And it's like our world is not, it's bigger than tiny. It's huge.
That's neat.
You mentioned about people having their timeline grieving. And one of the things I also found is like my daughters, if we stop and say, hey, let's just talk about some memories, that's a pressure on them and they're not comfortable with it. But one of the things that at Jonathan's birthday, I go camping by myself to have alone time. And then my family comes out in the evening and we roast marshmallows and we hang out and we honor Jonathan then. And one of the things my husband bought was a game called Do You Know Your Family? And we played a round of it. And then we played around answering as Jonathan would. And not necessarily what was true about him, but trying to, with his wittiness and his humor. And that kind of opened the door on, oh my gosh, that reminds me when he did this. And it was a really relaxed, fun way, but touching way to him.
Never heard of that game before, but it sounds really good. Yeah. The first, for Nathan's birthday, the first year, it was just maybe 6 months after he went to heaven, we lived in a different state than our kids. And our daughter, Megan, had almost always made his birthday cake. She's really a good baker and she loves to decorate. And so she just said, let's Zoom. I'm making a cake and Ryan's coming over and let's Zoom. So, and there was one candle on the cake because it was his first heavenly birthday. So it would have been his 26th earthly birthday, but he wasn't here. He's in heaven. So we've continued each year to add one more candle to the cake.
That's so cool.
That's how many heavenly birthdays there are. And then what we did, that was just our immediate family. But then the second year, we invited all of our extended family to get onto Zoom. And we did that for a few years. And that was just really wonderful because it gave everybody a chance to say something, share a story or a favorite memory. And then we tried to sing happy birthday with, 20 people on Zoom. And I'll just tell you that did not work. In all different areas, that doesn't work. So, yeah, we still get together. We're 10 years out and we still get together as a family and celebrate his birthday.
Nice.
I don't know that I've ever felt that we found a way that was completely satisfying.
Yeah.
And like in regards to like my son, he's like, we know his height, his weight. That's about it. That's about it. Hair he has. So, and I found that not all couples can grieve together in the same way, to share the holiday, that day, to acknowledge it. Like if it's something I want to do, it might be something that's too painful for my husband to do. And so that's created some challenges there. I think if you find yourself in that situation, if you have a girlfriend, a good friend that you can have those events with, you can plan to do something on that day with them instead. And just so that both your needs are being met and you're not, making the other person uncomfortable. So it takes a lot of communication and it can be challenging, but that doesn't mean that it's, if they can't do it, it's not because they've forgotten or they want to forget. They just don't want to be drugged down. And so you kind of have to work together.
I find that I don't, after all these years, I don't put a lot of pressure on myself, to do just the right thing. I've done a lot of, what you guys have done. I've done a lot of those things, bought a birthday cake, go out to her favorite restaurant and those things. And they're great. Anymore, I will post on social media. I'll make a post on her heaven day and her birthday. And I get so many just incredible responses. People don't seem to get tired of me doing that every year, and they respond and tell me how much they loved her, how much she meant to them. And to me, that's just as satisfying as trying to do something else, where I had to put my pressure on myself to do just the right thing. But when it at the 20-year mark on her heaven day, uh, we had family. We got all the family that could come. They came over. We did hamburgers out in the backyard, and we were going to do a balloon release. So I went to the party place and I'd ordered the balloons, and I went to pick them up. Well, I realized that I had picked up happy birthday balloons, and it was too late to change them. So I said, Jackie would have thought this is the funniest thing in the world. I brought the balloons home and we released them and had a good laugh over that, and thought she would really have thought that was funny. So
Yeah. Well, how about Heaven Days? So Carol just mentioned what they did at the 20-year mark. So I guess make sure that your balloons don't say birthday, right? On the Heaven Day. But do y'all have some ideas on Heaven Days?
The first year, we got some of those lanterns, and we had a family. It was, the girls passed away at Christmas time, And so we had a table and everybody just wrote notes on the lanterns. So that's kind of what we did with that.
It's beautiful. We don't do a lot for Heaven Days. In fact, that was part of my, given how Jonathan passed away and all the hurt with it. That was one thing that my husband was like, this is not a day I observe this. And birthdays have been our day. But Heaven Day for me is just to have a quiet place, just to put aside some time where I can have that freedom to have a quiet place. But we always go to the cemetery as a family and just have a few moments there. In a very thoughtful way, we've had either family or friends send us a gift card so we can just pick up something to eat. We don't have to worry about cooking and that's one less thing to worry about on that day.
This sounds very uncreative, but my goal is to just get through the day. So I distract myself as much as possible. And yeah, we don't celebrate at all. This past year, so we're 6 years out. And so our other one, our middle daughter lives in Raleigh, about an hour and a half away. And we're checking, you having a tough day? Yeah, we're having a tough day. We just drove over and spent the rest of the day with them. And actually that was kind of okay to be together, but it's not, honestly, it's just a day to get through for me. And then the next day we actually all felt great.
Yeah. I think we're kind of with you, Jim. We just, our goal was always kind of to get together as a family. So the first probably 8 years, we actually went someplace just for a couple days and just had a family time just together. And we didn't sit and talk about Nathan all the time, but it was just being together. We all knew that we were missing him and hurting. Mm-hmm. And then the last couple of years, we haven't been able to go away anywhere. But same thing as you, we have a text thread going and just kind of always see how each other are doing. And I think we got together for dinner as well on, both of those times, just to be together. Anybody else?
The first several years after our daughter died, we had the opportunity to help with an event with a group of people who had neuromuscular disease, and it was a weekend event, and we could volunteer with that. And we decided, we could stay home and ruminate on that and be sad, or we can go help somebody else and do something like that. So we did that for several years until they stopped having the event. But otherwise, kind of like the rest of you, we don't, we acknowledge the day and think about it, of course, but we don't do anything special that day.
How about the holidays? Thanksgiving and Christmas can be tough. I know that Thanksgiving was Nathan's favorite holiday, and he used to fast leading up to Thanksgiving and not eat anything on Thanksgiving morning in preparation to be able to eat all that he could at lunch, which he managed very well. So I think of that every year when we have Thanksgiving. I think about how much fun he was to be with us that day and how much he enjoyed that. But it can be tough. So what do you all do on Thanksgiving? And even we'll just lump Christmas in with it.
I have something I like doing at Christmas. We still do stockings for our kids as couples. Like, we don't buy them presents. We just buy the kids presents, but we fill a stocking for
the credit she needs.
Yeah. And so I have filled Levi's stocking every year for the last 10 years. And I always think about it as it's coming. Like, what do I want to do this year? I think the first year I bought just a bunch of foods, snacky foods that he loved. And then there was a hurting teenager at our church, and I gave them to him in total. It was in memory of Levi. Other times I've done like gospel booklets that then went out in packets, homeless packets that we had made as a family in memory of Levi. And so we had put those in, and I've just done different things that have meant something to me. It's really been more what I need, what I want, but I've been intentional about it being an outreach, an opportunity to mean something to somebody else.
Well, I mentioned Christmas earlier, but Juliana loved the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas equally. And of course, the first holiday after her passing in February was Thanksgiving, and she was married, so her husband secured a place for us in the mountains to go, and so Jessica and the four of us all went and got away, and it was just it was a time to remember her, but also to just have a different Thanksgiving, because holidays are just never going to look the same. They're they just take on a whole new look and a whole new meaning. But we tried to be open to maybe starting new traditions and to be open to something new, and it was special holiday, even though we were missing her and grieving the loss. So
Rita mentioned buying an ornament for Jesse's tree. So he obviously has his own tree. And we've heard a lot of parents that do that, have an extra Christmas tree somewhere in their home, and they put ornaments on it that were either their child's, or they buy one each year, and that reminds them of their child in some way. Yeah.
I kind of wish that we had like gotten a candle, and you know how everybody has a centerpiece, or lots of people do on their holiday tables, is just add a lit candle in memory of the person that's lost, and then invite everybody, if you've lost, somebody special to you, to bring one yourself, and then have them there. And as families grow, you lose parents and things like that, and it can just kind of grow, and then it's not so much a sad thing. It's then maybe it might even spark conversation about who you bring a candle for, and tell me about that person, and that kind of thing. I have a friend, Melanie DeSimone. I kind of stole one of her ideas, and I sent this to a friend of mine who'd lost her husband at the holidays last year, and she got these little, dollhouse furniture. She got a little chair and a little tea light, and it's just a little, I don't know if you can see,
Yeah, sure.
little chair for the empty chair, and then you put the candle on the chair and light the candle, and then it just sits up there amongst all the stuff that's in the middle of the table, whether it's condiments or flowers or what.
Yeah.
But it's a good, way to remember and acknowledge that kind of thing.
Yeah.
A friend made for me glasses with candles. Then you probably can't see it, but she had the kid's name put on them, and so that's really nice. That I always have that, and it's their candle. So
That's neat.
That's pretty.
We also have a candle that we light for each one of the kids, and we try to carry on with a couple of the traditions that they liked. Our daughter always had to have blueberry muffins for Christmas morning, so I always make blueberry muffins. And then our son always watched A Christmas Story on the 24-hour marathon. We don't watch the 24-hour marathon, but I will turn a little bit of it on just to say that we did. But Christmas is harder now because Christmas Day was the last day that our son was at our house. And his car accident was a few days after that. So it's a harder day. And he has a daughter who now is 11. And so we try to, do special things with her for her to remember her dad, and for us to do something as far as in memory of him at Christmas time. And he was for the underdog. He was always doing something for someone or helping someone who was an underdog. So this past year, we went and we have a street outreach ministry at one of the churches in town. So we went and bought a tent and a sleeping bag and snacks and hand warmers and things like that. And along with our granddaughter, took it and delivered it as a gift from Dad. So that helps, helps because Christmas is hard.
Yeah.
I haven't quite fully entered back into the holidays yet. I think the first year we just bowed out. We just stayed home. We just laid low. The second year, typically our family, like I said, we're from all over. So we congregate at one person's house and it's like a 4-day event and we all hang together and the cousins always were very close. And so to show up, there's a huge hole. And everybody knows what that feels like. There's a huge hole. And I think the second year, I was like, for my daughters, we went. I wanted them to be able to be with their cousins, to try to have some sort of normalcy. And I'd wear a mask as much as I could and thought I was functioning at times and then realized I wasn't even thinking straight. But anyway, we made it through that one. And the next year, I'm just like, I am not up to that again. The third, I'm not sure why there's reverb now. I'm sorry. But so the third year, I stayed home with my husband and my girls went and had fun with their aunts and cousins, and just to be okay with just family splitting up that year, so everybody could be where they needed to be.
I want to mention that for those that are watching tonight and also in the future, if you go to ourheartsarenhome.org and click on downloads, it's /downloads. There are 2 booklets in there. One is ways to remember your children in the holidays. And that is practical ideas. The ideas, we've given some practical ideas, but there's a whole bunch of them. So if you're a crafty person or, looking for something tangible as a remembrance, there's a download there that is also full of some ideas. Before we go on, anybody else have anything else to say about Christmas or Thanksgiving?
Or any other holidays?
I'm talking a lot, but I will say this year I was very touched because we have a family that we used to get together with at 4th of July at the lake. And one year Jonathan got to go and the neighborhood decorated golf carts and had a parade and he got to help with that. Well, this year their family joined in again and they put a poster of the year that he got to join in on their golf cart and said, "In memory of him." And on the Facebook post, they said, they put, "He always brought the fun," and then letting Jonathan ride with us one last time. And they just hadn't done it since. And so I just thought it was very special and it touched my heart.
That's really neat.
And to help people who are listening, they wanted to do this to honor John and they wanted to tell me, but they also didn't want to hurt me. They were even hesitant on talking to me. And then when they finally did, and I even told her there's going to be tears, but it means the world to me that y'all honor him. And or even remembering the fun things y'all did with him.
One thing we did too was we bought cookies and Christmas treats and took them to first responder locations because after the collision, those people were so kind and helpful and continued to be in our lives. And so we have done that several times.
Let's talk to those who are not bereaved or those who will be watching this in the future. What can they do to show a bereaved friend that they remember the child who has passed?
Kind of like what Misty just said. That was one great example. What are some other things that you could tell people? Not everybody has a golf cart where they can put the poster on it.
Send the card. Just go get a card and just send it. You don't even have to know what to say. Just say, "I'm thinking about you," and thinking about Jonathan. And send it. When you're in the store and you see something that reminds you of them, just send that text. "I saw such and such, and it reminded me of Jonathan when he did this." It's that simple. And don't be afraid that you're going to upset them. We're already upset. We're already carrying the grief, and you're not adding to it. I would say that if you want to post something on Facebook, text your friend and say, hey, I saw this. I loved this memory. Are you okay with me posting this on Facebook?
It's not a
And
shock.
it gives, friends are precious about doing that for me. That way there's not a shock all of a sudden his face is there as a surprise. But no, send the card. When you bump into them at church, say, you've been on my mind, or I remembered, just whatever. If something comes up that you remember, just share it.
We were really blessed with community when Juliana passed, and one of the most meaningful things that we received from our a really close dear friend in our small group who also loved Juliana. These were the kind of friends that prayed for your children all of their lives. She made a book, and I'll hold it up. Juliana was always thankful, and it's just, we'll treasure this forever. And this is a picture of her. This was a mission trip we took at our church. It was a family mission trip with multiple families at church, and Juliana was the interpreter. We went to Guatemala, and there she was with her sweet little international orphanage children that she absolutely loved. But anyway, there are pictures throughout that I have this. We have this memory book, and I mean, I have it on my coffee table or in the living room. And it's just so meaningful. Just we just treasure it. So, I mean, and that's just something that, to her was probably something simple, but to us, it's a treasure.
I'm glad you said that, because anything anyone does is a treasure to us.
Yes, that's right.
What
I got a text. Gosh, I guess it's been about 6 months ago from Jackie's one of her roommates, college roommates. And she said, I was cleaning out things and I ran across these pictures. So she copied the pictures and sent them to me. And it was, from their old college days in Oklahoma. And I had never seen them before because, Angela had taken them. So they were just brand new to me. And
Wow.
it was wonderful. I said, you don't know what a gift that you gave me, because this is, these are brand new to me. I've never seen them. And I also had another one of her friends, her guy friends, that I ran across the other day, and he said, I just want you to know I still think about her. I still miss her and I still think about her. And just to know that she's not forgotten and people still carry her in their hearts that's just the best thing. Share a story, share a memory. You just can't give a bereaved parent a better gift than that.
I had an experience in December where, in a 2-week time period, I had 2 people give me random memories about our daughter, and 2 people give me random memories about our son. I was in the grocery store, and somebody said, hey, I just want you to know that your daughter really made a difference in my son when she was his camp counselor. That was 20 years ago. And it's like, oh my goodness. And then somebody else, I was in a store, and she said, you're Natalie's mom, aren't you? And I said, yeah. And I didn't know the girl. And she said, well, I went to school with her and talked about her a bit. And then somebody said, you're David's mom, right? I went to church with him at such and such. It's like, oh, that's right, you did. And then out of the blue, he years ago taught at an intermediate school. And out of the blue, someone found me on Facebook through Messenger and said, he taught me in an alternative school when I was young. And I just thought I wanted to see what he was up to. I didn't know he had passed. So I went to find him on Facebook, and I found that he had passed. So I wanted to tell you what a difference he made in my life. And just, we had quite the conversation. And I said, well, one thing he would want to know is if you know Jesus. And she said, yes, I know Jesus. And so that, speaking of a gift, I mean, in 2 weeks' time, 4 different times.
Wow.
Just so, yes, if you have a memory of somebody, just tell their family, because it just means so much, especially when it comes out of the blue like that.
What we're talking about are words. We're not talking about going and spending a whole bunch of money. We're talking about just using your words, whether
Right.
it's just a simple text or, a story, everyone, even a card. It's just your words. We all have those. We all have words we can share.
Yeah.
One thing that I have been very burdened with from the start, I mean, from the time that Levi went home, is being intentional towards investing in the people whose lives he touched. We were at a Bible school for 26 years. I was a teacher, we were both on staff. And so we were around a lot of teenagers. But it still surprises me that teenagers want to hang out with an old guy like me. And there were two young ladies in particular that I don't think Levi was ever involved romantically with, but they were very good friends, and they were both troubled girls. And I was maybe overly determined to have some eternal input in their lives. But it was so easy. They wanted to hang out with us. And as we got into conversations with them, one of them, we wanted to lead her to Christ. We wanted our son's death to have some eternal impact. And it turns out, we found out that Levi had led her to Christ just a few weeks before. And then the other one was even more troubled. She wanted to keep meeting with us. And at one point, Karen was talking to her about the gospel and about eternity. And Karen found out that Levi had taken her so far, and Karen took her the rest of the way, was actually able to lead her to Christ on the foundation that Levi had established with her. So I want to keep investing in them. That's a way, and others whose lives he touched too. That's a way in which I keep Levi's memory alive, so to speak. And again, I have to kind of hold back lest I push too hard, But these two gals, for a while, it was very easy to have contact with them and open communication. And then, as I said, they were both troubled young ladies. Well, troubles arose again in their lives, and we lost touch for a while. And I was afraid of pushing too hard when they pop up again, but it turns out they still very much remember Levi, and they still treasure the impact he had on their lives and the impact that we continued in their lives in his name, so to speak. So that's been wonderful. It's been hard. It's been hard to see them drift away, but I think it was very difficult for them. They're grieving for our son as well. And their lives have become more complicated, and more challenges have arisen in their lives as to an actual walk with Christ, So I've learned some patience with that, but it's been very, very rewarding as well.
Anybody else? Well, I can't believe it's 8:26 already. We all turn into pumpkins at 8:30, right? We always love ending podcasts or webinars by sharing some scripture that's really been important to us. I know we all have lots of them that we could share, but as all of us here tonight know, there's nothing more powerful than the Word of God, and there is no comfort to even begin to touch the comfort of the Comforter, Jesus, the one who can truly comfort our broken hearts. And he speaks to us through the Spirit and through the Word. And so we just want to end tonight, and each of us share a scripture that has been important to us, or that we just feel like we want to share tonight with everyone.
I have loved Romans 8, verse 18. For I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. And we have a deeper understanding of that, because we never knew there could be such intensity and suffering, and yet can't even be compared to the glory of heaven. And that gives me such hope.
There's nothing like the death of our children to just pull the curtain back on what sin has done in our world and how corrupt it really is. And to actually see death as the enemy and understand what that means more. And I love Isaiah 41:10 and a few verses with it. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you by my righteous right hand. And in verse 13, for I am the Lord your God who hold your hand. It is I who say to you, fear not. I am the one who helps you.
We found a lot of hope in Romans 5:2-5, where it talks about, and we rejoice in the hope of the glory of God. Not only so, but we rejoice in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, character, and character hope. And hope does not disappoint us, because God has poured out his love into our hearts by his Holy Spirit, which he's given us. And we realize this is not the end. And Jesus is returning and going to make all things new, and that's the hope we hang on to.
Psalm 41-3 has been really important to me. And for a long time, it was just verses 1 and 2, which says, I waited patiently for the Lord to help me, and he turned to me and heard my cry. He lifted me out of the pit of despair, out of the mud and the mire. He set my feet on solid ground, and he steadied me as I walked along. And I'm so, so thankful. And I want to give other people hope that we're not going to stay in that pit of despair, and that he will steady us. And he did that for me for a long time. And for several years, those were the two verses I focused on. And then at one point, God prompted me, now go to the next verse. And it says, he has given me a new song to sing, a hymn of praise to our God. Many will see what he has done and be amazed. They will put their trust in the Lord.
I can kind of piggyback on that, and also on some earlier comments that Ernie made about trying to get out of the pit of despair. But actually, just from this morning, I was reading through Philippians. Of course, it talks a lot about joy, but as I just even was reading, and in all my prayers for all of you, I always pray with joy. And I was realizing I'm to the point now I'm actually experiencing joy. It's not just all despair, but there's actually, true heartfelt joy because of who God is and what he's done. And that's been kind of cool to see that he actually can come in with and let us experience joy again.
Mine is from Psalm 73. Whom have I in heaven but you? And there is nothing on earth that I desire besides you. My heart and my flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever.
The one verse that Levi favored towards the end, and he shared with us actually in some parting videos he made. See, our son didn't take his own life from depression. He was delusional. He was bipolar. And so things were not right in his head and his thinking, But he quoted Philippians where it says, for me to live is Christ and to die is gain. And better to be with Christ. I'm in a strait betwixt two. Better to be with Christ, which is far better. And so my verse is actually Colossians 3:1-4. If ye then be risen with Christ, seek those things which are above, where Christ sitteth on the right hand of God. Set your affection on things above, not on things on this earth, for ye are dead, and your life is hid with Christ in God. When Christ, who is our life, shall appear, then shall ye also appear with him in glory. So, in God's eyes, he has positioned us already in heaven. Our true life is in heaven, present tense, right now. And it helped me a great deal from the beginning to detach myself a little bit from this world. I would go outside and that song would come to me, Skeeter Davis in the 60s. Why do the birds keep on singing? Why do the stars glow above? Can't they see it's the end of the world? I would look around and all was bleak and colorless. And so Colossians 3:1-4 and other verses help me to realize that I have already died out of this earthly realm, and my true life is hid right now with Christ in God. That helped me a great deal.
Lamentations is a really good place to land. And I chose like the Lord is good to those who wait for him, to the person who seeks him. And that's Lamentations 3:20, 25. And from Luke 1:45, and blessed is she who believed that there would be a fulfillment of what was spoken to her from the Lord. I just recently read Waiting Isn't a Waste by Mark Vroegop. And in the foreword, it really grabbed me. Jen Wilkins said, we're all waiting for a lot of things, and she listed several things, and then she said, and waiting for grief to subside. And I thought that was a good way to do that. That it's not that you, it's you're waiting for the active part of grieving to subside, that painful part. There'll always be the grief in the moment of they're not here for this event or that kind of thing. But it's not always going to be that raw, awful thing. To me, it's more like someone stuck the blade in and they pulled it out, and I went, oh, okay, I'm okay. So I survived that. Yeah. The Lord has been faithful. And when it says he's good to those who wait for him, then you look back and your heart is filled with gratitude for what he's done when you thought you'd never get out of this dark pit. And that's where I find myself these days, is just so very thankful.
Well, mine is Romans 8:38 and 39. Before Nathan died, I knew the Lord loved me, and I've known that Jesus loves me, since I know, since the time that I came to know him as a child. But after Nathan went to heaven, and as I started walking that journey and putting myself at the feet of Jesus, like I wish I had done other times in my life, really lamenting and drawing near, I realized how much he loves me and loves all of us, every one of us. And I've never, ever really understood God's love until now. And so this is a verse that I love. For I am convinced that neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither the present nor the future, nor any powers, neither height nor depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus our Lord.
Amen.
My grief journey has also been a faith journey. I've recognized that my faith has increased tremendously since we lost Nathan, and it's had to. I've had to have faith that God would hold me and carry me through my grief journey. I've had to have faith that there's a purpose in my pain, as we say sometimes, that God is working the tragedy of losing my son into my life story in a way that will glorify God. And I know now I have complete faith that I'm going to see Nathan again and be able to spend eternity with him. And that's my hope. So I love Hebrews 11, verse 1, which says, faith is the assurance of things hoped for and the conviction of things not seen. And what this verse tells me is the importance of faith in believing that while there is so much that I don't understand and I can't observe physically in terms of what I'm experiencing grief, that my faith will see me through.
Well, thank you all for being here tonight, and thank you to those who are with us virtually, and people that will watch this. I'll put a link in the notes to the download that has a lot of practical suggestions, and I hope that there's something that you've all found tonight that might be a blessing to you in your journey. But thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura and Gary.
Thank
Everybody.
you. Good night.